right now we have finished off our bind off, except for the last stitch. I want to show you what you do with the last stitch. So we have this nice clean edge now, doing our bind off. Here's our last stitch. It's just hanging out there. One stitch, and we have no stitch to loop it over on. So pretty easy how to finish this off. It's probably what you expect, but in case you haven't ever seen this, you get a pair of scissors, and I have to apologize for these scissors. I think they like were my kids' scissors when they were like in first grade or something, but they're a good short size, and I lose scissors and pins and pencils and knitting needles all the time, so beggars can't be choosers, people. We're using the kitty scissors. Okay, so you just cut off a length of yarn. Usually they say about 6 inches is enough, but with toys I like to give a little extra, because sometimes what you do with toys, which is what I'll be doing with this, is you use this ending yarn to sew on to other pieces. So I want to give myself a little sewing room, so I'm going to make this longer. I'm not sure if I gave myself enough sewing room on like this one, my finished hoof. That one seems okay, but we'll see if I came up short. So anyways, we've cut our working yarn, so now we just have this last stitch and a tail of yarn, which will unravel if we don't do something. So very easy here. You just make a knot by slipping it through. So we're going to take the yarn, go through the hole there, just pull it through. See that? There you go. That's it. Now it looks a little weird. It's like, well, that's not a perfect circle. Something's wrong there, which, like I was saying, knitting works up on a spiral. So yes, of course that looks like a spiral, but what we will do is we will sew this down. We will sew this yarn down into this side right here with a needle. Just do a little loop there, and then it will look as if it is an actual circle with no jiggy jaggies. So it is a solution that can be solved. I'm going to grab our eyeball of needles, which if you watched my previous video, I knit an eyeball for a for a octopus, and this is the wrong size eyeball for the octopus toy I was making, and so I kept it as a pin cushion. It's a little weird, but there you go. Okay, so I'm going to close off this hole. So I'm going to attempt to thread both yarns at the same time, and hey, yeah, did okay. Okay, so easy, easy. I like to do crisscross, criss, 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 criss to bring a knitting project together. There are different ways to do it. But surprisingly, you don't have, I never worry too much about being tidy, tidy, neat, because there's some flex and forgiveness in knit fabric when it comes to toys. If you take a look at this, it looks really good. Even though I've done a lot of work right here in this center piece, it doesn't look bad. It looks okay. So for this piece, we're going to be fine. We're just going to go across. So here's one across. I looped it. You can loop it the other way too. I don't know that it much matters. So let's go ahead and do this. So we're going to go straight across here. And then we're going to pull it together. Whoop. Okay. Then I always come back close to this. I don't do this next. I come back close to where the stitch was before. And then we're always going across here. So now I'm going to come close to where the stitch was on this side. And then I'm going to grab this, and I'm going to go over the top there to grab that. And basically, I'm doing a crissy-crossy, crissy-crossy to try to close that up. Now, let me pull it tight. I'll bring it right up here so you can take a look at what I just did. That kind of quick whip stitch, nothing fancy. And it looks pretty darn good. I'm going to bring this stitch around here. So one of the things I guess I want to say that I love about toys is there is a certain amount of forgiveness in them. I mean, I have had toys, I've fought with toys before, making them, and no matter what you do, you cannot seem to get all the pieces to come together as a whole thing. But that being said, in general, see, we're going to bring this right up. Look at that. That looks slick, right? That looks like that was purposely knitted. This even looks like this is a perfectly knitted row and that each of these were purposely set in that design. And this is, you saw me people, that was just a quick whip stitch, right? So we always tie off our yarn on the inside of the toy, so I'm going to go right down the center here, and I'm going to turn it inside out so that I can work the inside here. Tie it off in just a knot. I like to secure all my yarn in toys because they get smushed and drug around, hopefully, and carried and loved and handled, so we want them to hold up to the love. Okay, rough love, people. So we've got a yarn, no need for a long tail in here, just a little tail. Whoops. Cheap scissors, people. Okay, and while we're in here, we're going to look at everything else. This is our jogless stripe with all of my jogless stripes. I always tie them off after I do the jogless stripe, so that's on the second round. So after I have one round of pink down and I've done the second round of pink on this, I tied the silver, gray, white, and the pink together because with a jogless stripe with a stripe, when you change colors, there's sometimes a hole there, and this tying these two together on that second round takes care of that hole. So now we have that secured, and we're down to the last piece, which, like I said, we're going to secure there, and we will do that in just a minute. We have to first put in our little bit of batting and our button. I don't know if I'll use a green button. This one has a teal button in it. I also have a red button, or it's kind of orangey. But we'll put a button in the foot on the inside to get this shape, and then we will start sewing pieces together. So hang on, we're going to do the next piece. All right, so I have lifted the camera a little bit so we can get an up above view of our unicorn, who's pretty tall. In my hand, you can see kind of how big the unicorn is. We have feet, we have hooves, we have little bullet hands, and now we're going to put them together, do kind of a rough, where should these go on the unicorn? We will put a mane on the unicorn, we will put eyes on the unicorn, we will put nostrils on the unicorn, we will put a mane down here on the unicorn, and a tail, of course. But we're going to start off with getting the feet in place, and I like to do a practice run on feet. We need the feeling more of a horsey than of a little person toy or a bear toy or something like that. We want the legs all at the bottom of the horse. So sometimes what I'll do is whatever I have handy, I will use as a temporary holder. So right now I have my double pointed needles that I'm going to use to kind of stick in here, so I can place the pieces and see if I like where they're arranged. And then if I decide I like them kind of, then I will do them definitely. So let's put down some feet and some little legs. I think I don't like where the front hooves are already, I can tell, but I'm kind of digging where the little bottom feet are going. This feels good down here, I think. Good thing I have 4 needles, huh? Okay, yeah. Those feet look pretty good. Like, that's just pretty cute like that, right? If you had a little unicorn just with 2 little feet, bipedal unicorn, that would be okay. And, you know, from the side, it sits pretty nicely on its roundy bottom, and that still gives us room for a mane. It's kind of hard to see on the camera. Let's see if I can tip it. See? Gives us room for a mane. It sits pretty nicely just like that. So I'm kind of digging where the little bottom feet are, and I might move them a little bit, but I think that's pretty close to where I want them. And it seems like they need to be right on top of the other ones, so that really, if you wanted to, you could put it down and it would sort of stand like a little horse, like essentially. See this? It's a horse with no neck. Poor thing. But, you know, it's that basic horse-like shape. So there is some mimicking of the actual animal that we want to do, so that it doesn't just look like a teddy bear with a horn on its head. Not that there's anything wrong with unibears, but we're aiming definitely for a unicorn. So I think what I'm going to end up doing is putting these little feet right on top of these so that they're very even. But instead of leaving the pointy parts here, I'm going to go ahead and do what I said. When I sew it on the toy, I'm going to put a stitch through here to make them all little hooves, but these don't have buttons in them. So the other thing I can do is put buttons in them. There's no reasons why I can't. Just as capable of doing buttons on these guys, and I might do that, come to think of it. Do this a little trial run. Like I said, these feet are slightly smaller than these feet. I wanted the front feet to be slightly smaller. And that's the same size button as this button down here. I think I have one more that size somewhere around in the house. If you want to know what color I put on that bottom foot, one of these, I think this one is teal and this one is an orange button. And then this one is a green button, and I think I have another one in the house that I can use. So we might button up all of these. I think I will. The consistency seems like it would be nice and would just kind of make the toy feel like it was all planned that way. Like we had a plan going into this. Pah, who needs plans? Okay, so I've actually done a quick sew all the way around this last hoof here, or leg. I know I say this a lot in this video, but I wasn't trying to make it look perfect and fancy. I'm okay with it looking handmade. This is not a perfect join. If I were trying to actually match up the knitted rows to the knitted rows of the body, I would have spent more time and effort doing so. There's certainly a way to do it so that it can look kind of seamless, but I want this to look a little patchworky. The idea here is that it's just this sort of derpy, handmade, goofy little unicorn, and I could go for the perfectionist thing, but I just want it to be fun, and I don't want it, I want it to look like, yeah, somebody put that little toy together, not, oh, you perfectly bought that out of a store. This is a one of a kinder here, people. Oh, so you notice I did a little half knot with my yarn there, and then with toys, again, you have to hide all of your yarn inside of your toy so that it's not hanging out. So I always stitch through some thick area of the toy, pull it tight to give it some tension, and oh no, I think I forgot my scissors. Hang on. I did. Okay, so we're going to cut that as soon as I find my scissors. Alrighty, so I think I've got the camera. And so far I like her shape really well, but one of the things that I don't love, I mean, it's fine, but I want to change, is this horn looks like a hat. It looks like a little princess with her little princess hat on, which is cute and all. Like, you know, if I put a little scarf off the back of it, she'd look like a little princess with her hat. But I want this to look more like a unicorn horn. So I have an idea, and my idea involves the needle and the silver thread, because I tried, as I may have mentioned before, sewing with the sequined, the shiny sequin thread, and that was pretty abominable. Okay, here we go. So we're going to thread up our needle. I'm going to pull in the base of the horn so that it is shaped as a more distinct, separate piece, and I'm sitting here thinking about it right now. I want it to tie in the back because I can hide it with the mane if I have any knots or anything that I want to tie. So we're going to go in where we want to come out. So we're going to go in the back of the horn, and I'm going to catch the V's, under 2 V's, which is, you know, under a stitch, over a stitch, under a stitch, over a stitch, under a stitch, over a stitch, under a stitch. I'll see if I can show you what I'm picking up here. My concept for this is I'm going to make the ability to pull the fabric together, and that tension should draw the unicorn horns in. So I went under these two, this little V. Let's see if the camera can pick it up. It's a V under that. So I'm going to go over this V. I'm going to show you the V I'm going over. Just, I'm doing every other stitch basically, but it's already in its rows, so we're having to suss those out. So there's the V that I'm going to go over, and then I'm going to go under this V, over that V, and I'm on the very first row of the switch between the light pink of the unicorn's face and the combination threads of the unicorn's horn. What is this unicorn's name? Well, in my book, her name is Extelle. Extelle. She's not what she seems to be. I don't want to give it away, but she's funny. I get a kick out of writing her. And so far I've enjoyed knitting her too. And I get to a point on a toy where every time I stare, do the next part of it, I just kind of giggle because it's becoming something. And I'm just about at the giggling phase with this thing where every time I look at it, I add a hoof. I just giggle like, oh, look, it's almost a unicorn. Okay, I'm almost on the end of doing this around. I know maybe you can't see this quite as well as you would like, and I apologize for that. But again, a little tricky on camera. Okay, so we have gone in and out and in and out and in and out around every other stitch of the horn. You can't see that. You can't see that I've done anything unusual. Let's pull it right up. Just looks like knitting. But what we're going to do, let's see, we'll try to do it on camera here. Okay, so here's our unicorn with her kind of fairy tale princess hat horn. Now we're going to give her actual unicorn horn. Sort of, I feel like I'm doing a corset on her or something here. Okay, I'm actually just trying to do a half knot back here, but I don't want the yarn to get tangled. Let's see if it works. Ready? Okay, here we go. Yep. So I'm going to show you that before I make it permanent. So now, this camera, my goodness, I'm having a hard time with this. Now you can see it's a distinct horn shape. Like it is actually, it goes in at the bottom and out at the top, which is something I could have done when I was designing knitting it, but I didn't. So now I'm like, well, I want to, because when I was knitting it, I thought, no, it'd be cute if it's all one piece, but I like it better being kind of a distinct switch over into the unicorn horn, because that's how it usually looks on a unicorn, right? They have the little separate little divot right there. So this is what we're doing. We're changing our unicorn from having a princess hat to an actual more unicorny horny. So what am I going to do with the back of it? Well, I'm going to just tie it as tight as I can without busting the thread here. Oh, let's see. Here we go. Is that on camera a little bit? Kind of difficult to see. There we go. Pull it as hard as I can. Keep a good tension on it. Do a knot. Okay, and just do one more. Alrighty. So now we have what I feel is more of a unicorn type horn situation. Here's our little unicorn. She sits like this. My camera does not pick her up very good for some reason. Let's lay her down. Okay. You can see her whole horn, her little divot in there. If you see my hand behind, this goes divot in, whereas before it was one flat thing. I like this better because it feels more like a unicorn horn. So I'm going to get my needle right in here. I'm going to come right out through the side of her head. Sorry, girl. I'm going to pull it tight because the stuffing now is going to bounce back when I see. It's not just I have the thread hanging out. I'm actually pulling it tight to give it some tension, and then when I cut it, it snaps back into the body of the toy, and it's well hidden. So we're going to do that on this side. There. Okay. Now we're getting somewhere. We are definitely seeing some unicorn action going on. Next, we're going to do her little eyes. And again, I haven't decided how I want to do her little eyes, but she's going to have two little eyes. And then I think her nose, her little nostrils have to be down here. And then she's going to be almost done here. I think we've got hooves, we've got the little muzzle, we've got unicorn horn. Let me see. We are ready now to put some mane on her, and I decided that I'm going to do some short mane here on the front, and what I'll do is put some on and then trim it. So I'll start off with something too long, and then I'm going to put her mane down the back just where the light pink and the dark pink meet. I'll do her mane down to about there, and then I'll stop, and then her tail will go at the bottom. I'm not going to do all of this on camera because it's kind of going to be one of those tedious one thread at a time kind of things. So I've put a couple yarn threads here to begin her mane, her bangs here. I'm going to bring her right up to the camera so you can see. So I've only actually done 2 pieces of yarn. This is one piece and this is the other piece, and I've tied them in knots up here, and I'm going to individually tie every piece of yarn for her mane. This is going to take some time, but it's going to look really cute. And of course, like I said, her mane's going to get cut short, so we'll have a shorter mane, but I'm not going to cut it until I get her eyes on so I can tell how long I want it, because I'm not retying this again one time. I'm going to show you how I do it though. Cut a length of thread. I'm going longer obviously than I need, but that gives me room to work. Then get your crochet hook. Crocheters out there, I am using a, I don't know what this is. It is a E. It's a E. Okay, so I'm using an E. You can use whatever works, but for me this is what I had on hand, and I think it's going to work fine. Then I'm choosing a, I guess this is the only part that you would want to be careful about. I'm choosing a stitch right up by the horn, and instead of taking, you know how I went over to under to the V kind of situation with the horn, I'm just doing one arm of the stitch because I want to put a lot of threads in, and so I'm going to use a single arm. And it would be fine if I did this arm and then that arm and then that arm, 3 threads in a row down. Do that too, but I'm just going to start with some. I hook it in the crochet hook just to pull it through the thread carefully and easily. You could use a needle too, but I don't want to thread the eye of a needle over and over again. So I'm just doing a crochet hook, pull the yarn through, tie it in a knot, and that's another bit of her hair. So it's going to take forever. I'll see you in a year or so. No, I'll get it done soon. I'll just work on this, get enough on her front, and then go down the back. And the great thing about this is after I do some, if I decide I want more, I can always add more. So I'm going to add at least some of each of the colors of thread that I have to create her mane, and we'll find out if she's going to have a long kind of drapey mane, or if we're going to do a short kind of bangy mane, because I could always just do mane all down the side here too if I want. So we're going to experiment a little. I'm going to start with just doing a front short bang mane because I think that might be fun. Yeah, we'll see. Here we have it. I have put her mane on. This is called a forelock. I knew this. I've been around horses enough to know it. I just forgot. So here's the front of her mane, and we can do it on this side too. Doesn't she look snazzy? I do think I'm going to cut this a little bit because this is too long for the toy, even though it's kind of fun to play with and you could probably braid it and stuff. But I think I'll cut it maybe to about here to give, it'll still have flow. I was going to do the really short bangy part, but I think a unicorn has to have some flow here. And then here's our mane in the back, which again I have not cut either. Get it all untangled here, and looks pretty good. And this too I will cut. If she were a little horse, this is her beautiful mane, and her beautiful forelock. Darling, I am a beautiful unicorn. I don't know what accent that is, terrible accent. So here she is, my beautiful unicorn. Oh, I'm kind of tempted to leave this ridiculously long because it is sort of fun to play with, but I think if I cut it right there, it still gives some play. And this too, I'll probably cut about here to make it a little shorter. I used all the colors. It turned out really cute. I don't know if the color on the camera, that's showing a little, ooh, too much. You can see all the sparkle in there. Yellow and pink and gray and blue, and I put some white in there, just a couple random threads of white, and it gives her this there. That's a good color. You can see the color really well with that. Isn't that pretty? Oops, whoa, as I drop her. So she's super magical girl. She's beautiful. I definitely will. I don't know, the more I have this long hair, the more I'm thinking about keeping it, because, come on, just look how cute she is. Maybe I'll keep it super long and just shorten this a little bit. I still have to make her tail. Have to do her eyes, which I will do last, which I know that seems strange, but for me, toys don't really come alive until they get their eyes on them. I've had some toys that I've wanted to not put any eyes on because I just thought they were so cute without the eyes. And eyes are tricky on knitted toys because the fabric you're working with has a lot of holes, just the nature of the beast. It's a pretty coarse fabric, and so any stitching you do has to be between holes essentially. And eyes don't always work as well as one would like in that type of situation. Oh my gosh, the more I'm leaving this long hair here, the more I'm having fun with it. Whoosh. Whoosh. So we'll see what we do. We're definitely at the giggling part of the toy, which is always fun. We are ready for eyes. So I have filled in a little bit on the mane. I've put some more extra on this side and right here. And what I was trying to do is kind of fill in that hole so it didn't look so bare, and also so that when you looked at the back of the unicorn, let's get our little forelock up here. Okay, so when you looked at the back, you got a full mane coming out of that unicorn horn. I think it works really cute. It's good. Really good. Okay, so here she is. I have not cut her forelock. Look at that. I keep thinking that I'm just going to snip it, and then I just end up messing with it and playing with it and making her all beautiful. So I'm going to leave it. I mean, I guess the person who wins this can cut it if they want to, but I'm going to leave the long flowing locks for now. Okay, so I gave her nostrils. You can see them right there, little silver nostrils. Hard to see with my lighting, but they're there. Here, here. All right, so now we need to give her eyes. And I just wanted to show you the different kinds of how an eye can make a difference in a character. Okay, so here's our little unicorn. Here she is. I'm going to start with the bigger eyes. And I'm going to do buttons. Sometimes I do cloth or I use thread, but this time I think she's a button eye toy. So I went into my button box, which is in a Christmas cookie tin, as all grandma button boxes are. It is actually my grandma's button box. It's handed down to me. So I sorted out a couple of possible eyeballs. So here's one set. There she would be with those eyes, which are not bad, I think. Pretty good. Pretty big eyes. Get a pretty good look on her face. I like that. Here she is with tiny eyes, and these are not glossy. These are more fabric. Well, they are fabric covered. See what she looks like that. So there she is with little fabric eyes. And then these are my favorite, and I think I'm going to go with them. They're rounded like the first set, but they're a little bit smaller, which I think makes her, see if I can get this. I mean, they're obviously, I'm just laying them on there. They make her really cute. Makes me laugh, and when I laugh, that's when I know that I'm probably on the right track. So when doing eyes, I like to do the ones with the little loop on the back here, the buttons with the loop. That way you don't have the thread actually going through the eye. And changing the look of the eye. Okay, I'm going to stitch this on and I'll be right back. Just wanted to show you I've put 2 stitches into the back of this eye. 2 should be enough to hold it down because I'm using yarn. She looks kind of punk rock with her one eye and her makeup here. I'm going to tie it off in the back. Again, remember what I say about toys. Always, always, always put the tail of the yarn into the body of the toy. So we're going to make a good knot there to hold her eye in place. And then we can do it with a crochet hook. I was talking about that earlier. Where do we want to pull the yarn through? I'm going to pull it through over here. So I'm going to come up. Let's see if you can see this. I'm going to come up, grab the right up next to the button. Grab our yarn down. See if I can get it pulled through without catching all the rest of the yarn. So let's just pull this through. just like I said before, you want to give a little tension on it, snip it, and it'll go back into the body of the toy. I gotta do her other magnificent one eye. It's a one-eyed, one-horned, flying pink unicorn. I think there's a song that does not go like that. Okay, also on the other one. We are almost at the end. So I have whipped up something that I think can be used as a tail. I did not, I could have made a tassel and I didn't, but it's that same idea. I did lengths of yarn of all the colors that are in her mane, and I did them in loops. I just cut all the loops here at the bottom except the one that you just saw that I did that I had forgotten. And up here they're still looped. And I tied the main thread around them and tied this in knots a couple of times. And what I'm going to do now, and this is going, I don't know if this will work. How many times have I said that during the video? Whoever counts how many times I say, I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm doing it anyway. You should win a prize. That seems to be my ongoing attitude toward most knitting. I'm going to do a second knot with the needle right into where I did the last knot into this nice tight tied thread. My idea here is I'm going to put all this extra loopy stuff, I'm going to shove it into her butt. There's going to be some butt shoving in this toy. Why am I doing the butt shoving? Because again, I want all those ends in the toy, and if I do it right, it'll look like a little tail coming out instead of like a bunch of wacko things that I have done. So she's pretty easy to see what the straight down her back is because I'm using one of the increase rows, which has this is called laddering effect. I'm going to just go for the gusto, try something I've never tried before, which is sewing this tail on. We're going to see how we're going to do it. I think I'm going to just sew it on like this. Well, let's see, she could have an Arabian tail. I think I can make it sew on like that. I'd have to yeah, that's what I need to do. Okay, we're going Arabian all the way here, folks. I'm gonna give her that nice little high tail. If I can, we'll see if I can. Now again, I'm not making this for a child, so I'm not making this to the sturdiness that one would need for like a kid putting it in their mouth and trying to bite off the eyes and stuff. This is definitely a choking hazard toy. You grab the tail too hard, I think it would come off. A little kid could probably get it in their mouth. So this is, you know, a grown-up or an older kid kind of tail, not a baby toy, I guess is what I'm saying. I have made baby toys, and I've made them safe enough so that no matter what a baby can do to it, it will not hurt the baby. Okay, yeah, I like it standing up like that, and this is all getting in the way. I think before I actually finish the job here, finish him. Before I finish her, I'm going to try to get all these extra loops stuffed down into the toy. That's going to be pretty. So I'm not going to cut all this because I did not sew it together. I didn't braid it together. I didn't knot it. Hey, that would have been smart, knotting it. Jeebus, Devon. Yes, oh my gosh. Who does this? This is what happens when you are winging it. You come up with all these wackadoo ideas and you just sort of bumble your way through until it works. Hey, that's the writing life too. You come up with wackadoo ideas and bumble your way through until it works. Okay, we were working on the tail and I had a little video problem, so you can't see the full, how it all ended up step by step, but you can see the finished project, or finished product, the butt and the tail. So I ended up using the using the crochet hook to come up through the fabric right at the base of the tail and grab a hold of the loopy ends and pull them down into the unicorn. It worked really well. And then I sewed around a little tighter to make the tail really tight. And actually, no, it feels, she's got a good tight, you got a good tight tail there, girl. Nice, good on ya. Okay, so she is done, but I was thinking, if I did that, you know, the trick that I did with the horn where I tightened up the fabric, if I do the same thing with her, we get a pretty darn sweet unicorn-shaped unicorn, which is to say she gets more of a neck. See this? Her face becomes a distinct separate part of her body instead of just coming straight out of her torso. So it gives her a little more of a horse, well, I mean, she's not a horse shape, but you know what I mean. It gives her more of a defined feature, gives her a nice jawline, I guess. So here she is with it. Here she is without it. I'm thinking I want her to have it, so I'm probably going to do that little trick where I weave the yarn in and then she'll be done. But I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to call her done because she is officially done. Thank you so much for hanging in there with me and from beginning to end of this project. She is the Unicorn Extell from my Ordinary Oregon series, which are urban fantasy books, and the book that she shows up in is called Dime a Demon. It just came out here in June, so very recently, and it's the 5th book in the series. She's a really fun and goofy character, and I enjoyed writing her, and I had a great time making her into a toy. I will be giving her away. She will be being given away. So if you happen to like little squishy pink unicorns with attitude, then stay tuned. I will be giving her away here on the YouTube channel. Yay! And you could be the one who wins her. I'll let you know how that's going to happen in the weeks that are coming up. And then we'll start a new knitting project as soon as I get an idea for something on my needles. Hey, if there's something you want to see on my needles, let me know down in the comments. Is there a toy that you thought sounded fun or one of my characters? Someone suggested Death from the Ordinary Magic series, Death and His Kite, and I think that's a pretty great idea, and I could do a little Death maybe. We'll see how he turns out. I wouldn't have to put a tail on him, that's for sure, and I wouldn't need hooves, so that's nice. So anyway, she is about as done as she's going to get right now. Please leave me a like if you like. Please subscribe if you want to see me do more silly things. In the meantime, craft on my crafters, knit on my knitters, and write on my writers, and read on my readers. Yeah. And thank you so much for coming by, and we will talk to you soon. Bye for now.